Good morning. Nice of you guys to drop by.
What a piece of junk. What are you talking about?
Don't be too proud of this technological terror you've constructed.
Look, don't worry. Everything's gonna be fine. Trust me.
I don't know what all this trouble is about, but I'm sure it must be your fault. Don't get technical with me.
This bickering is pointless.
Don't everybody thank me at once.
I don't know where you get your delusions, laser brain.
I'm glad you're here to tell us these things.
How could you even say that?
I got a bad feeling about this.
Well, come on. Everything's perfectly all right now. We're fine. We're all fine here now. Thank you. How are you?
Would you get going, you pirate?
Get in there, you big furry-o! I don't care what you smell!
I'm getting too old for this sort of thing.
If what you've told me is true, you will have gained my trust. I like the sound of that.
Get a shuttle ready.
I don't know. Fly casual.
Shuttle Tydirium, what is your cargo and destination?
Transmission commencing.
Hey everybody, thanks again for tuning in to the Shuttle Tydirium podcast. I am your host, Captain Jim Chadwick, also known as Hey Chadwick on the forums. I do have sitting next to me my famous co-pilot, Phil Mead. Phil, how you doing?
Huh? Oh, I'm fine. I've just got this lovely classic from Life Day. I'll turn that off now.
I think I actually recognize that's who was singing that. That was Princess Leia.
That was Princess Leia. Yeah, very famous rendition of that.
I've got some dark memories
classic
coming to the forefront. Anybody who hasn't seen the Christmas special, it's on YouTube. I was able to find it and torture my family with it. They wanted to see it. I warned them against it. They wanted to see it. I put it on. I think we got about 45 minutes through, and they just could not take it anymore. It is so bad. It is so
musical
bad.
Numbers are really good, guys. They're
all right.
totally worth your time.
That. I still have nightmares of that show. But anybody who hasn't seen it, I dare you to go watch it. Anyways, so we also have with us J-Bot, our cranky protocol droid. How you doing, J-Bot?
I'm not amused by y'all's playing of contraband material here on the ship. That's
Oh, loosen up.
It should be banned.
I'm doing okay. You guys should know that I am suffering through this show for you and everybody else tonight because I was offered a ticket to the 9:00 showing
of
Star Wars tonight, and I came here to do this show instead of being sitting there in that thing watching the movie that may be awesome but might not be. And since I haven't seen it yet, it must suck. That's my opinion.
You should have gone. I would have bailed.
Robert's like, "You want to go?" My friend bailed on me, and I'm like, I should call in sick. Just call in and say the traffic. Because what's funny is I know you don't hear this, but Jim's part of, I guess, the chat that Robert and I had about traffic on the highway around here. I think you were part of that chat, Jim.
Maybe.
But basically, it took Robert like an hour to go 2 miles on the highway to get to the store tonight. And I was gonna show up and like, guys, the traffic's unbelievable. Go on and go without me. And then come in basically like, man, that movie was awesome. Like, just totally spoil the secret. So,
you should have gone. You should have gone. But if not, you could spoil it.
But no, it was it's funny. But yeah, if anybody that's on the Facebook page, I went ahead and put a thread on there. I'm gonna see if I can figure out a way to make it so you can't really see it other than just what I've posted. But try and keep like comments and stuff about the movie to that for at least a week or so. I know that sounds like a lot of time, but there are those of us who actually have holidays and things to do too, just to try and keep it down as much as possible. Because Lord knows there's going to be everybody and their mother talking about it. So
be respectful.
And just be a little respectful. Yep. Don't let me treat you like a troll. Boot you out. If you spoil it for me, you're out of the family. That's I told everybody I know, if you see it before me, do not say a word.
When are you seeing it?
I'll probably see it early next week. To be honest with you, I'm off work the rest of all of next week, and we'll we'll probably see it then, since the kids aren't out of school just yet, and that'll give me a chance to sneak in and sneak out without there being 8 million people.
What about you, Phil?
Me and Jake are actually going to see it tomorrow morning.
Very cool. I am going to see it on Saturday. IMAX Theaters lets you pick the seats, and so we got 4 tickets for the whole family. We're going to go on Saturday about 1 o'clock, and my daughter is actually out tonight going to see it right now. I think she's watching it right now. But anyways, that's not the captain's question tonight. It kind of has inspired the captain's question, though. So with the idea of Rogue One and it being a prequel to Star Wars, and which would you recommend first, etc. So here's the question: if you took someone who has never seen any Star Wars anything, a complete neophyte, just I don't know, they came from a rock, from another country, a time capsule, something. They've never seen a Star Wars movie. What order would you recommend? Do either one of you guys want to go first?
I can go first. I can speak. Let me speak how I saw them. I could never get through, and I'm, I guess, the youngest one here. I'm not 100% sure. I was never able to actually get through Return of the Jedi entirely without falling asleep at one point for years and years. And because I'm obviously younger, I was not alive when the first movie came out, and not when I don't think the second one came out. I might have been. I can't remember. But
you are young then, yes.
Yeah, but either way, I was very young, so I didn't see them in their entirety until I was much older. But I did watch them in the original trilogy. The thing that's interesting for me is how you treat these, how you look at them, because this question's come up for me before. If you watch them, I guess as they were originally released, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, etc., the story is different from if you watch it from 1, 2, 3 all the way through, I guess, in the actual supposed chronological order of the series. And that sounds crazy, so stick with me here. But if you watch 4, 5, 6, it's essentially a story of revenge. It's a story of somebody who lost their father. I hope there's no spoilers here, but someone who had their essentially had their father killed, was orphaned, etc., 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 and went back to revenge. Obviously, gets the big turning point, finds out that his father was never actually killed, but was really essentially evil. Essentially, it's a story of vengeance, is how it is. And then 1, 2, 3 become kind of the backstory to that story of vengeance, betrayal, and that sort of thing. If you watch it 1, 2, 3 all the way through chronologically, it's actually a story of forbidden love, and how it's so much like a Greek tragedy in a lot of ways, where it's essentially this story of a forbidden love and how that desire tears apart two people in a family. It's not a story of revenge. It's not a story of vengeance. It's a completely different kind of telling of the same story, really, when you look at it. And it becomes a question of how do you want essentially your kid is kind of what you're asking. How do you want your kid to see the universe? You want to see it and learn the story as you did, as this kind of story of vengeance and reconciliation, or of a story of love and how it kind of flows through time and destroys a family, but also brings a family essentially back together at the end. Who knows what 7's going to do? Oh, I've already seen 7, I guess, but who knows what the story's going to do from that point forward? Because for me, it's basically done. That 1 through 6 story arc is over. Me, I'd show it the way it was originally produced. 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3. Mm-hmm. But there is that's just because that's the way I saw it. That was the way I experienced it. And I would want somebody to, in a sense, experience the way I did. But for me, it doesn't mean that the other way is wrong. I mean, yes, people hate the first 3, but if you just look at it on pure storyline, I can see someone saying, you know what, maybe I do want my kid to see it as more of this arc of kind of tragic love versus, pure out vengeance and kind of taking back something that was stolen from you, which is kind of what the 1 through, or I guess 4, 5, 6 are. So
yeah,
but that's me. I'd do original and then this, and then the new trilogy, and then back to 7 and whatever comes after it.
Okay,
just because that's the way I did it, but I just want to say there is a different story. It is different, depending on how you kind of first come into it.
Right. Yeah, it does. Okay. Yeah, I hear that. All right, Phil, what about you?
I think I'd largely take the same approach. I think that there probably is some value to going episode 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that it would tell a different story, and there would be like a different feel in episodes 4 and 5, because you already know that Darth Vader is Luke's father.
Right.
So there's
a
more
big
of
thing.
that's a dramatic tension, I think. Right? Is that the term?
Yep, it works for me.
Where the audience knows that Darth Vader is Luke's father, but Luke won't know. And how clear do you think it would be that Leia was Luke's twin? Probably pretty clear, because they name them both, right?
Yeah, they named both at the end of
Everything
3.
set up quite nicely at the end of episode 3.
Yeah.
At the end of 3, they take both the babes and they split them up. You know, they do that on screen.
I mean, I would think about doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 if you just cut that. If you didn't name them at the end of episode 3, and you didn't see Obi-Wan handing them off to Lars, Uncle Owen, and Aunt Beru.
Yeah.
And Leia getting handed off to Bail Organa. If you cut that part and didn't explicitly tell people here's where they're going. See you in 18 years.
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting thought, because you really wouldn't even need to change that much, and we're not in the editing business here. But if you just took out,
doesn't the naming?
I think doesn't she name Luke first? I think Luke was the oldest. I don't remember 3 that well, surprisingly, but I think Luke was the first one, and thus the oldest. If they don't even name the second one or show that she had twins, other than that they mention it, I think they mentioned it at some point. Yeah. Then you're like, okay, well, because you know who the father is, you kind of know this going.
You can tell Luke.
Yeah, you already know Luke is the father. Luke is the son. There's almost no way to kind of avoid that. I don't think if you went 1 through.
Obi-Wan talks about Darth Vader.
Right, but you would have no idea that they're related. But I don't really see that as that gigantic of a bombshell compared to the father-son thing.
Right.
Yeah. So that's where that's where it comes back to, is you have this. You look at 4, 5, 6 completely different if you've seen 1, 2, 3 first, knowing kind of their history to begin with. It treats 4, 5, and 6 completely different than it does the other way. Like if you watch it kind of the way we all saw it.
It adds something, but I think it also takes something away.
Yeah, and it is a little too heavy-handed in the linking. Like he definitely went way out of his way to be hammer over the head.
Yeah.
This is exactly what happens.
I make no secret of my love for the Oral Knots rendition of the prequels, and now episode 4 and 5. They really handle that. They lampoon that very well. So the Oral Knots make spoofs of the Star Wars movies. You should check them out if you haven't already. But when they pick up on episode 4 with R2 and C-3PO, or alternately named Fart2 and Creepio, they're being attacked on the Corvette, just like in episode 4, and they're walking down the hallway, and Creepio actually has continual amnesia because he had his memory wiped at the end of episode 3. So he's just been forgetting everything that happens. He has a 6-hour memory or something like that. It's very, very short. So they're walking down the corridor, and he's like, "Where are we?" And Fart2, bleeps back at him, and Creepio says, "What? We've been here 18 years? That's preposterous. Who would believe that?"
That's funny.
It was a nice little moment. Yeah.
I will say though, for my answer, because I went back and I watched all the Clone Wars with my son, and I've gotten into the fan edits, Fall of the Jedi, of episodes 1, 2, and 3, and then kind of been watching Star Wars Rebels with my son and everything. And one thing struck me was that, we'll say, then I went back and watched, I think it was Return of the Jedi with my family. It was my first time since seeing the Clone Wars cartoon and in episodes 1, 2, and 3 again. And I have to admit, I actually saw and heard Vader in a different voice. He always was James Earl Jones being a complete mean guy who was awesome. But actually having gone through the 7 seasons of the Clone Wars and that character, I actually heard like that character's voice in the Clone War or in the latest start, the Return of the Jedi. And it really changed who Vader was for me, like in a lot of respects. And I really liked it. And I was talking to my son because there's also a lot of references to, say, like Grand Moff Tarkin. You know, when he starts off as Colonel Tarkin and he's in, you know, a bunch of different things. And to me, I was asking my son what he thought if you were, you know, could go back, what would you recommend? Because if you could see all these various characters, instead of just Grand Moff Tarkin, some old guy who's Vader's boss who blows up with the Death Star, he's actually like Grand Moff Tarkin with his big backstory that you've seen him do all these crazy things. And, you know, Alderaan getting blown up and Bail Organa dying and all these crazy things, you know, has more of an impact. The Senate being dissolved has a greater impact if you actually know what the heck the Senate is. And we came to the conclusion, him and I, that we would recommend you watch everything, but you would have to, we would say, forget the real episodes 1, 2, and 3. Watch the fan edits, Fall of the Jedi, which is basically the same story, but they cut out stupidity. Like most of Jar Jar Binks, you know,
15-minute episodes or something, or is it
no, it's actually enjoyable. Watch episodes 1 and 2, and then the Dexter's Laboratory season 1 of the Clone Wars, which introduces General Grievous and Ventress, and then 7 seasons of the Clone Wars, and then season 2 of the Dexter's Laboratory, which is the lead up to episode 3, then episode 3, and then go ahead and watch Star Wars Rebels through. I know it's still being filmed. And then Rogue One, and then start with, you know, episodes 4, 5, and 6. And I think watching them in that particular order, I would really like to get this perspective of someone who doesn't know anything and who's seen them all in that order and can see the whole story progress with all the various characters, them getting killed off, and what happens. And I think the Clone Wars is absolutely amazing, and it does a lot to redeem episodes 1, 2, and 3. And if no one has actually seen the Clone Wars cartoon, I highly encourage them to go watch it, because it does a lot for the prequels.
Yeah, just be careful. They kind of presented them out of order. Like that's
yes,
it's very Firefly-esque in that way that they put them out of order. So you need to kind of there's somewhere I'm sure you can find online that has the correct viewing order.
Clone Wars chronological, just that, and the first thing comes up will actually give you the order you're supposed to actually watch those episodes. You have to do it, or else it'll be terrible, because they bounce around too much if you don't watch it that way. If you just look at the list, you'll see how much it bounces around, which is utterly stupid. But yeah, all right. Okay, so I think we might have rambled about that, but I'd really like to talk to someone who's never seen Star Wars and watches it that way and get their opinions. I think it'd be really cool. I mean, it's a lot of viewing. I mean, we're talking.
Yeah, I haven't even seen all of that stuff. That's a lot to catch up on.
It is, but I'd like to talk to someone who's seen it that way, because it'd be pretty cool. Okay. All right. First off, I'd like to give a shout out to Hit Crit podcast from South Africa. I listened to them, and they had a comment. They asked listeners to write in. I wrote in, and they thought it was hysterical and mentioned me and the podcast on the show, and they'd heard of us and said, "Oh, those guys who did the Heroes of the Theory Cluster stuff. Good podcast." So a shout out right back to those guys, Hit Crit. They were just happy to have someone outside of South Africa listen to them, but
they have an audience. I haven't started listening to some. I have a pretty full podcast bank these days, but
yeah,
thanks.
Yeah, they're a good podcast, but they were pretty happy. So just want to give that shout out. All right, now probably next we should talk about a particular Here's the Theory cluster build I saw on the forums. I thought was pretty good, but before we get into it, we might need to.
Heroes of the Atari Cluster.
All right. I love that intro. That's great. Now, I did see this on the forums. Rogue3, who's Brett from Canada, that's who he wanted to identify himself with, had this particular list in a thread that was about, here's the tree cluster synergies. He says he loves Wedge and always likes to talk about Wedge and bring up Wedge quotes when he plays here's the tree cluster and the X-Wing. And so some of these, I don't necessarily say that the Wedge part has to happen, but basically his favorite combo of things with an X-Wing. He first gets Hobby's ability. So now I'm going to pull up exactly to quote it all because I don't know off the top of my head. But Hobby's ability, when you
is that when you spend
when you
target lock?
acquire or spend a target lock, you can remove one stress token. So that's the first one. Then you get push the limit. He gets stay on target as next EPT. And I'll leave that for right now because the next he says Wedge, but that's not necessarily important to the cool combo. And targeting Astromech. So basically, targeting Astromech, when you do a red maneuver, you get a target lock. Hobby's ability lets you remove the stress once you gain that target lock. You can then push the limit to do a couple of things. Like let's say you've got engine upgrade or you've got the vectored thrusters. You can basically focus and do another action, which will stress you out. You can attack, spend the target lock.
De-stress.
And de-stress. You'll basically get 3 actions a turn and not be stressed at the end of it.
Yeah,
and,
not bad. Yeah.
And stay on target basically says, if whenever you're picking dials, you can change your dial to whatever you want, but it's a red maneuver. So even when you're just picking a freak, you want to go 1 forward or you want to go 2 forward, you go 2 and you change it. Oh, I want to go 1 now. 1 forward, red maneuver. You do the whole combo because everything kicks off about actually doing a red maneuver and how you have to do a red maneuver. So I thought this whole thing was a pretty crazy combo.
Yeah, it's the only caveat there is that when you do stay on target, you have to have the same speed maneuver. So you can go to like speed 1 and 2.
Gotcha.
No, that's something else helping you out. But
right. Okay. So I got that bit wrong. But so with stay on target, you can basically change a lot. You won't get bumpage. You don't do crazy things and get 3 actions a turn. I thought that was pretty neat.
Absolutely.
And if you don't want to change it, you can always, and you don't do like a K turn, you can always just do your regular maneuver and then push the limit and get like a focused target lock, but then remove it by getting the target lock. Or a barrel roller boost and a target lock, and then boom, as soon as you get the target lock, you're losing the stress.
Right. So you're probably attacking a target with focused target lock, wedge ability. That's certainly good enough to take a tie off the board every turn.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. So, J-Bot, what do you think about that combo?
Well, I like it as a nice offensive build. I'm curious to see where you go from there. I mean, that's not a whole ton of kind of upgrades to it from HotAC, so there's a lot of room left to kind of adjust.
Well, it's got 4
level.
EPTs, so you've got Hobby's ability, his elite pile talents. Then you've got.
Right, but what are you putting on there for mods and stuff?
Oh yeah, mods give you a lot of room because you have vector thrusters or engine upgrades. Or you can go guidance chips, extra munitions. All sorts of crazy stuff. Yeah.
Right, but as a pure offensive build, though, are you just going to go with guidance chips and that similar sort of thing, or are you going to add in maneuverability just to make sure you can get the shots off? I mean, which direction are you want to go?
Maneuverability is also important defensively.
Yeah. I think probably maneuverability first and then add in some of the missiles and such, or torpedoes, and then you guidance chip, extra munitions, combos.
Yeah. I might just take extra hull and shields instead of the torpedo stuff, because your attack 3 is pretty good already. I
disagree.
The extra punch.
I was actually chatting about here's the cluster. We were talking about, let's say, like the captured officer. Where you got to destabilize the Lambda shuttle. People are saying, well, they can get the shuttle fine, but then they can't kill the TIE fighters fast enough before the interceptors come. And every time I've played that mission, it's been a bit of a cake. Well, not a cakewalk, but we haven't had that much of a challenge. Killing the TIE fighters. And I realize that it's because we always have torpedoes, and you can pretty much blast a TIE fighter in one shot with a torpedo.
Yeah.
Particularly if you go like guidance
Wedge, but
Wedge's ability is so high up there, you're not going to be playing that on that first mission.
Yeah, no. So this is, it's kind of moot here.
So, I say that the torpedo, you don't seem to care for. You want to go for shields and hull upgrades.
I mean, take a torpedo, but maybe not the guidance chip and extra munitions to So you tie up 2 more upgrades to boost 2 attacks that you're going to make the whole game.
Yeah, I still say it can be worth it, but yeah.
I just think you're tying up a lot of 2 mod slots to,
I would at least say extra munitions
for marginal increase.
I don't think it's that marginal because I think you can really take out a TIE fighter like one round, boom, it's dead.
I mean, if you're flying like a B-wing with two torpedo slots, I think then it starts being a lot more worth it.
It's more than, yeah, it is a lot.
Well, see, as a pure offensive build, that B-wing with Wedge's ability and the 2 guidance, or not 2 guidance chips, but guidance chip, a couple torpedoes, that sort of thing, does become incredibly nasty. Because you're got a higher payload, and with his reduction in agility plus the guidance chips and things with the targeting lock or target lock, the focus, all that stuff, you're basically going to peg out whatever munition you choose to its highest level of damage.
I guess it's a matter of when you're climbing up there, because once you get to the point with Wedge, sure, I can see not so much with torpedoes, but Wedge, you've got to be PS9 to get up to that far, to get that height.
Yeah, that's the peak at that point.
So X-Wings with 2 torpedoes, I think, is pretty good and is worth it. I think extra munitions at least is worth it.
Can you get extra munitions though on the X-Wing?
Yes, because it's a modification.
But doesn't it require the giving up a slot?
No, not in Here's the Terry cluster. It actually is a modification instead of taking up the torpedo slot. Because normally it would take up the torpedo slots. But what it does in Here's the Terry cluster is it's a mod that lets you then take your 1 torpedo slot and double it. So X-Wings can have 2 torpedoes, B-Wings can have 4 torpedoes, Y-Wings can have 4 torpedoes.
Yeah. I would be more worried about the ship's survivability, depending on what ship exactly. Did he say in this whether this would be a build for an X-Wing or a B-Wing?
X-Wing.
Or whatever. Okay, X-Wing, yeah. I think by the time you're up that high, you definitely have to be thinking about your survivability, too, because he's going to be getting attacked a lot. Unless he's,
unless you've got the repositioning. I do agree that repositioning is good first, but I don't disagree. I don't say that not even going for guidance chip or extra munitions. I
think that his damage output is going to be good already, and that his survivability.
I don't think. I think torpedoes make the difference. They do. You've got 3 attacks, sure, but torpedoes are
Wedge's
worth
ability
it.
Makes a difference too.
Yeah, but Wedge's ability is only going to happen at the very, very end of the campaign. Torpedoes can happen a lot sooner than that. They can happen in the first mission.
Yeah, I take torpedoes on my ships. I just don't always equip,
Guidance chip extra
munitions as opposed to other mods for an X-Wing.
All right, I hear you. I do, but that's cool. And one thing about this is there's no Predator.
Well, at that point in the campaign, you probably don't need Predator. You're fighting too high-level stuff for it to really be that big of a help.
Yeah, well, you getting like the hobby and the push the limit stuff, has to happen lower, but you don't go with the Predator, which is kind of neat. I do like that. That is cool. All right, so I do appreciate that. That was Brett from Canada. Thanks, Brett. Rogue 3. I guess he it comes after Rogue One. Maybe it's the third movie. Anyways, all right. There's another thread out there on the FHE forums that caught my eye, and we'll put links to it in the show notes because it's important. This will be kind of quick. There's a forum user, Millennium Falsehood, who put out a thread called "Early Christmas Present for the Forum XQ6 Platform Kit." So what this guy has done, he's gone to the old X-Wing Alliance computer game, which was first there was TIE Fighter, then X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, then X-Wing Alliance. And he basically took the graphic files. I think these graphic files people have been still modding this game since it came out and playing it. And people have kind of revamped some of these graphic files and are still playing it. And this guy's taken these graphic files and actually made them as PDFs. And he's got step-by-step instructions on how to make this space station from this game as a physical thing. He prints out the skin basically for the ship, and he takes press board or MDF board or HDF board, depending on which country you live in. But like clipboards, the material clipboards are made out of. You can get them at different shops, and they're pretty cheap. You can get furniture made out of it at IKEA, but basically,
it's the stuff that's on the back of the furniture. Is that holds the furniture together? Is what this is.
Yeah. And he basically took only regular tools. Like I'm trying to think. I think he had a list here of what tools he used. An X-Acto knife, a ruler, white glue, super glue. He says Bic markers, so you can take a Sharpie or something. No, Bic markers, a Sharpie, and a cutting board. And these are the only tools he used, but he's got many step instructions. And he's got he bought a model stand for like a plane where you'd hang put like an airplane model on. And this thing is huge. I mean, it's over a foot in size, and he's got instructions so you can actually take it apart. It's basically got the central compartment and these three different pods or arms with landing pads and everything that you can put out. This thing's really big. I mean, it might be about 2 feet in size for the whole thing of it, but it looks amazing. It looks so cool. He's got these layers where you put it down, and then he doesn't just have a decal for a section of it. You build it up, another whole panel, then a panel on top of the panel, and it comes out looking utterly fantastic.
Yeah, I've seen pictures on the forums. It looks actually really, really good.
Yeah.
I think it's very, very well done. But anyone who wants to see this should definitely go to the link, because down in the thread you can see Jim's space station. And that's really what we're here about, is to make fun of Jim's space station. He's very proud of that space station until he saw this one.
Yeah.
This space station puts his space station to shame. And I just have to make one remark. That is a couch. The couch that's in the picture behind the space station. Yes, that is a couch.
Oh, it is. It is pretty cool.
There's more flowers on that than there are in my garden. But no, this is a really cool space station. I was very amazed. I didn't read any of the step by step because I know I'm not going to do it. But I was just oohing and ahhing over the pictures because they look really, really cool. Except for Jim's space station, I know how it was made, so I can laugh at it even more.
Oh yeah, but you know what I'm planning on doing is I'm totally taking some of these PDFs and adding to that space station and making it look so much cooler.
As long as we get pictures, that's all that matters, because I still don't know that you're going to be able to come to the glory that is the first guys. At least not starting with our old one that we were using.
Yeah. So, yeah. My old space station, it's like a big gulp cup with 2 plastic plates from for a picnic and a yogurt container on top of it. And then one of the local guys painted I just had it primed black, and he actually painted it gray and glued on some 40K bits, and so it looks a lot better than it used to. But compared to this guy's space station, it does not look that good.
It definitely looks better than when it originally showed up in the shop as just the solo cup and the other bits and pieces to it.
Yeah. I definitely want to take his PDFs and start, at least, at the very least, making mine look, much, much better. But, yeah. All right, so that was just one thing on the forums I saw. I was like, this is awesome. And I was like, I got to mention this. This is really cool. So I highly recommend people just even go take a look at it because it's just neat to see. Cool. All right. And next in our smorgasbord of segments, we have a B team.
Watch it, you've got one on your tail! Yes, I can hold it!
No! Okay, now I also saw this one on the forum. Okay, I admit I spent too much time on the FFG forums reading about X-Wing, but I saw this one ago, and it was in a thread about, hey, can you fly with just one aggressor, one IG-88, and what are some good builds? And someone had flown this and had some good comments, and I thought this is a pretty cool concept. Maybe it's not like going to win worlds. Hell, maybe it is. I don't know, but it was neat, and I liked it. I thought it was neat. I actually have two IG-88s, and I got them, but I was really entranced by Shizor when that wave came out, and people flew Brobots so much at the time, it turned me off from ever flying an IG-88. I mean, it was like, it wasn't the scum and villainy faction, it was the Brobot faction.
Right. That was the only thing that people were flying competitively for a while.
Yeah, that always bothered the heck out of me too. Was just, that's all you saw was two robots on the table.
Oh, I learned to hate robots. I mean, I got to kill them pretty easily with my Shizor list, which is funny because people are like, "Oh, this Star Viper sucks, Shizor sucks," and I was killing everything. I did very well at my regionals, but I actually have two, and I've never flown them. So with this list, I actually would probably bust out one of my robots. I guess it'd just be a bot at that point. But
so what's in the list?
All right, it has IG-88B, was the canon one. He's got Veteran Instinct to bump his pilot skill up. He's got Fire Control System to give him, the free target lock. He's got Mangler Cannon as his main cannon, not heavy laser cannon. But he's also got a second cannon because they've got two cannon slots. Tractor Beam cannon.
Tractor Beam?
Yes.
What? No one takes that.
I know. It's crazy, but I love it. And then auto thrusters. And the rest of the list is a Cartel Spacer, Seek, a heavy Seek, the new changed rule, and another Tractor Beam cannon. And that leaves enough points to put 3 Z95 Headhunters, PS1 binary pirates. And that puts it at 99 points.
Are you sure there was another Tractor Beam? I thought that was a heavy laser on the Seek.
Nope. Tractor Beam. And so basically he puts here, the idea is to have IG-88 Tractor Beam the target into a bad position in front of the small ships and makes it -1 green die. And so basically if you can get, IG-88, he fires, it misses, and then fires again with the fire control system, tractor beams, pulls you, barrel rolls you, out of your arc dodging and whatnot, and gets you in front so that the heavy Seek can then nail it with another tractor beam if it needs to bring down its green dice even further, or basically just fire main guns, and the Z95s fire. So you're going to be at -1 or 2 green dice, and then a whole bunch of Z95s firing at you. And the idea is that it can just, it really mauls you, yanks you around, pulls you out in front, and then they rip it to shreds. That's kind of the whole concept of the list.
Yeah, one thing that I like here is that the IG-88 isn't just completely banking on the tractor beam for for its beam slot, for its cannon slot. It also has the mangler, so it can operate independently of the rest of the list.
Yep.
But in those cases where a tractor beam shot would be better, and there are those cases. I mean, a lot of times, I think mathematically it works out to be not worth it to do the tractor beam shot as opposed to just try and do the damage yourself. Because let's say you tag a ship with the tractor beam and then shoot it with two Z95s. How many the ship that you hit with the tractor beam is going to roll 2 fewer agility dice against the Z95s, and the Z95s might get 2 more damage in that they would not have otherwise, right? That's like your best case scenario.
Yep.
But you've already scored at least 1 hit with the shot from that hit with the tractor beam, right? So you've already traded at least 1 damage in order to get the 2 damage down the road. Maybe get the 2 damage down the road. After you're hitting
you could do more than just 2 damage. I mean, particularly...
Well, you could do more than 2 damage, and you could be firing with your whole list at these.
No,
what I'm saying is that there are cases in which it's better to not take the tractor beam shot.
Yes.
Right. Even if you're shooting at it with other ships. Now, if you're shooting at something, that's high agility, like a Sunterfell, and you have the chance to tractor beam him, and maybe throw him onto an asteroid, and then shoot him with the rest of your list, awesome. That's that's way better, I think, than trying to take the mangler cannon shot, even though the mangler cannon shot, might put a critical hit on him, and maybe another damage or 2. I think that putting him on the asteroid, screwing up his next turn, potentially, and then probably nailing him with the rest of your list is probably worth more at that point.
What I like is that everything's situational in X-Wing, but you've got the tools, you've got the mangler cannon, and you've got the tractor beam to kind of make that decision. Like if you hit a Dengar with Lone Wolf with a tractor beam, he's only going to be at 1 agility die. Lone Wolf is not going to help that much, and having focuses and stuff is not going to help that much for Dengar. But if you need to put that damage through with the mangler cannon, you can do that as well. There's also the option of what happens if you fire with the tractor beam first? Because it's basically if you miss with an attack, any attack, it could be a cannon shot or your main guns, you can fire with a cannon. So you can fire with the tractor beam first. Oh, are they going to let that 1 hit go through? Let's say that you get the hits. Are they going to spend their tokens to try to not be tractor beamed in front of your list? Or are they going to, get hit? And let's say if they spend their tokens not to be tractor beamed, boom, you can fire the mangler cannon at them then, and they've got no tokens. And okay, it might not get you the ship in front of the rest of your list, but it might be better to do that overall. So it's got flexibility because everything's situational in X-Wing, and this I think has the tools for many situations.
Yeah, I think the accurate tractor beam might actually change the way other people fly their lists, also because they might be afraid of it.
Yeah.
And in the very best cases, you'll be shooting with the tractor beam before another ship shoots, and then putting it on an asteroid and preventing it from shooting.
Yes.
That's the very best
yeah.
scenario, and then shooting out the whole rest of your list.
Yeah,
that would be quite nice. That's probably not going to happen super often, but if it's a threat, then and people know about it, then they'll fly differently, and they'll be less aggressive for good reason, and that's a benefit in itself.
Because you've got the aggressor who's more aggressive. Yeah, so that's the list. We don't have a name for it, and actually I can't even recall who it was that posted it, unfortunately, because I'm lame. But I liked the list. I thought it was pretty fun. It was a neat idea, and I want to try it actually. So
Yeah, it looks fun.
Yeah, not sure when, but with the Sithmas coming up. But J-Bot, you got any thoughts on that list?
No, it's hard for me to kind of see it without seeing it on the table. I just know that I always hated the Brobots, and in a pair, just because of that whole matching. I guess kind of the ability to use each other's pilot skills. I guess if they took that specific card, but
they're the first power couple in X-Wing.
Right? Yeah, it always annoyed the heck out of me, and they always seemed like a little overpowered ships. But since you can only get 2 of them, and really not fit too much more else into the end of the list, but this is 5 ships, isn't it? If I did the math right there as you were driving it out, that's quite a hefty ship load. Just to and still have that much. It seems like that much kind of output for damage and just variability. I mean, it sounds interesting. I don't know how well I'd be able to handle that many ships, especially with the large base. I'm not good with that.
Well, if I brought it on the table against you, would you start screaming foul?
Yeah, I would complain, but I mean, that's you could line up pretty much anything on the other side of the table, and I'm going to complain about it.
All right, cool, excellent. Sounds good. That's our B team. I like it. Now, I know we also, J-Bot, we've been working on some Mario Kart.
Welcome to Mario Kart. Let's go!
Oh!
Fire! Wow, 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 wow!
Did you want to talk about any changes or anything? I know we talked about changing some of the cards and how that system works. Do you want to go into any of it, or is this all kind of secret for you still?
Well, I don't want to get into it too deep, but it's being investigated, I guess, at this point on whether or not it's feasible to run a at least relatively competitive short series of races, not a tournament. This is a more of a think kind of Saturday evening night at the races deal, where it's more kind of class based. So instead of everybody kind of picking a willy-nilly ship, showing up and trying to survive for a couple laps, it's more of at least the plan right now is to kind of have, without going into too much detail, 3 weight classes. And they're tentatively noted as stock, modified, and then open class. So essentially, those will each have different levels of kind of adaptability, different levels of kind of ability to change your list or change your ship, depending on what they are. And at that point, it would be kind of a series of short races with to the victor go the spoils, and to the people who lose, maybe they'll get a consolation prize or not, but we'll see. It's still kind of up in the air, and I have to get some of the devious track ideas out of my head and onto paper so that we can start making maps and testing them, because the one thing I've loved so much about Mario Kart, at least in the X-Wing world, is how kind of freeform it is, that almost any map works because everybody has to go through the same map. Like there is no kind of, my army or my list doesn't fight very well with asteroids all around it, so I'm just going to do my best to avoid being in the patch of asteroids and fight around it. Nope, you gotta if you want to win, you got to go through the whole circuit just like everybody else. So in a way, there's a bit of fairness in that. And as we've seen when we've played it, it's not as, hey, I'm out in the lead, woo, that's it, and I'm away. No, if assuming everybody else doesn't just turn it into a bloodbath, you can actually, in a sense, work together. You're like, no, I'm not going to shoot you. I'm not going to shoot you. I'm not going to shoot you. Let's just try and catch up to the leader. And then once you get there, all hell breaks loose again.
Unless you're Robert. Robert wants to open fire on everybody.
Unless you have two people who just get into a blood feud in the back of the race, and they're like, I'm taking you down. They're just doing K-turns in the middle of the track to take each other out, which is fine. That's perfectly fine.
Well, I did post a picture of that list or that track that you did, and Obi-Wanka, a guy in the forum, says that quad turret track looks simple yet hilarious. And I think the real key was that the secret shortcuts were so narrow that it's really hard to get done right, and it could just slow you down if you don't get it right.
Right. Well, that was without going into a ton of detail. That was the point of that track. It was the turns are sharp enough, or not sharp enough. They're thin enough that two ships cannot pass each other. So, but it's still wide enough for two ships to go down. It's basically the width of a large base ship was what those little passages were.
So two bases wide.
Yeah, so basically exactly two bases wide, or as close as I could get it with my taping skills.
They're pretty good.
And the fun thing about that is if you angle it right, if you set yourself up right, you clean right through those, and you're going to get shot. But the turrets are pure 3-die turrets, so they can't kill a headhunter. We were running all headhunters. They can't kill a headhunter in one shot unless you have some catastrophic crits. If you get shield and then crit for direct hit, yes, you can be taken out by one of those guns. Otherwise, you can cut through safely.
But it was so narrow. If you don't line up exactly, you're going to bounce into that wall.
Y'all had problems with it. I burned right through it when I had to.
I got through. I did get through numerous times, and I bumped numerous times. So, I know it was really hard to do it. Because you can't, even if you get through not right, you can't really exactly. There's not enough room to boost at an angle or to kind of take that one curve, or you certainly can't.
It's a risk reward because it's another 2 turns to go along the outside. Unless you cut the outside corners perfect, it's like a 3 turns. It's going to cut you at least 2 turns off of it if you angle it right. If you don't, you're not saving any time.
Yeah.
One change that I made, and the tape I'm using, honestly, in my opinion, is too wide. It needs to be kind of the thinner, really like 1/2-inch tape. But what I changed for the rules for walls is I was kind of frustrated with they weren't really detailed enough for me. And this is kind of it hurts you a lot. Basically, the idea is don't touch walls. The basic rules are if you end up on a wall at the end of a turn, you can barrel roll off of them, which I don't like personally. I'm like, you should not be hitting walls and in a way get a little bit of a boost from it. If I end perfectly on a wall, I can get almost half of a base forward just from my barrel roll off of it. So essentially what walls became for me were obstructions. They worked like any obstacle in the game. So they worked like an asteroid, but they were a combination of an asteroid and a debris field. So if you landed on one of them, essentially if any piece of your base was on it, you were considered to have been on it. So you could actually be hanging, in a sense, off the board, but you're still on the track as long as a piece of your base was on the thing. If you landed on it, you were at the end of the turn. You were essentially slid back onto the track, parallel to the tape. So as close as the tape as you can get. So you won't bump into it if you go straight again, if that makes sense. You were ionized. You're stressed, and you get no action.
And you're in the turret zone.
And if you're no, that's if you hit any wall. But if you hit a wall, if you hit a wall going through the tunnel, you're probably dead. But
I did it a few times, and I did die most of the time, but I got hurt.
If your template went over one and you were able to get back off of it, then you basically had all of those exact same things, except for you weren't ionized. You didn't get the free move back to parallel because you ended up your turn off of it. But basically, I want walls to be painful. You should not be running into them. But there's one addition to that is not included in there, and it was that I made tractor beams work like tractor beams should, which is you can barrel roll people off maps. To me, it's the most obvious. Really, I can't. I can barrel roll you onto an asteroid, but I can't barrel roll you off of the map when there's theoretically nothing there. There's nothing in space that direction. So you could, if we get to a class where you can afford a tractor beam, you can barrel roll someone off the map, which is essentially instant destruction. If they go all the way over a wall, if your template's not touching the wall at all, you go completely through it.
Or they're really close to it.
Yeah, boom. So for me, that was one of us, that tractor beams, and this was a long-term decision for the open classes and possibly modified. You can tractor beam someone, barrel roll them off the map, and instead of just onto the edge. And the reason that's important is because some of the maps have long distances between checkpoints, so it might actually behoove you to do that versus just kind of stunning someone for a turn. But there's a lot of maps out there. That one was kind of a test just to see how fast a simple kind of circle would take to run, instead of just a lot of the loops and kind of chicanes and stuff like that you'd have. Those take forever. The more turns you put into it, the longer it takes, is what I've started to find out.
There were some, I think, other significant changes to the card system that I really was pushing.
Yeah, we got to test that, though. That's a deep test that's going to require.
Yeah, we haven't done it yet, but I basically went, because if you were in first place, you can get some really amazing cards. And, like if you've got blue shell, you can hold on to it, avoid all the packages, and no one else will be able to blast you. And if you were way behind, unless you got really, really lucky, you would not get the really good thing. And in Mario Kart, it was based off, where you were. And I actually went up and looked up, what were the percentage chances of what package based on where you were, etc. And I posted all this, and I came up with the idea of having 3 decks depending on where you were in formation. So if you were first place, you basically got, there's 7 cards. 3 of them are the banana bombs. 3 of them are green shells that you can shoot backwards. And then one of them is a mushroom boost. And those are the only chance you'll ever get those cards, no matter, what package you get. And if you're in the middle, it's the standard one of everything that you could possibly get. And then last place, 1 gold mushroom, 2 of the bullets, 1 ghost, 2 of the stars, 3 of the lightnings, and 2 of the blue shells. And it just lets you shuffle between any of those, and that's what you could get. Now, some other changes were, if you've got something like the squid or the lightning, the card says everybody gets hit. I mean, it even says you would get hit. But change it to you're not hit, but it's only everybody in front of you that's hit. Because that's what would happen in Mario Kart. So the guys behind you in last place aren't going to get screwed. It's only the people in front of you that get screwed. And I think those are important changes to do to the star, or to the lightning, and to the squid.
We definitely want to test that out. It sounds better, but I want to see it, I guess, kind of in practice a couple times just to make sure that it's not doing something we're not expecting.
And the last one for Bullet, because I think Bullet needs to be, that was the most amazing one. You can get in last place, you can get up there and get to the one of the lead positions. Bullet we changed so that we got to test it. If you get it, you basically get 5 free boosts with any template. So you can basically get 5 turns, bip, bip, bip. But as soon as you get in the second place, it ends. So if you're like third place and you get 1 boost, and that boost, you take like a 5 straight or something, and that gets you in second place, boom, you don't get any more boosts. But if you're like way in the back, you could bullet speed up there. You might be third or second place by the end of it. You might still be in last place because you're that far behind, but it gives you the chance to really catch up, but not get in first place or blow so far past everybody. You don't suddenly you're the guy half the track ahead of the race. That's not cool. We don't want that. But so it catches you up. Cool. And I thought those were pretty interesting. And so, Mario Kart's actually got a lot of people interested in it. So
yeah, definitely. There's a lot of other people working on like version 1.5s and 2.0s out there.
Yeah.
I've seen that there's at least one thread on Reddit, and I know threads pop up on the FFT forum from time to time too.
Yeah.
Yep. And that sort of stuff really kind of energizes me. It's like HotAC in a lot of ways, is that it's so different from the standard X-Wing that you can draw people in who've either never played or played and they got tired of the 100-point death matches. Because, I mean, we've seen it while we're playing. People wander over, what is this? Is this Mario Kart X-Wing? I mean, it's kind of that same HotAC reaction that you would get. It's like, what is this? Why are there so many, Imperials on the table? This seems really bad. But that same reaction you get just when people see it is what's amazing. And
I love it.
It draws people in. And I love it, even though I lose every single race. I think it's great.
Yeah. All right. So we're getting kind of long on the tooth here, but I think we have time to go over some new cards that were released because I think tonight's night
grab
new
bag
stuff's
spoiled
out.
Cards here.
J-Bot, did you pick up any of the new ships tonight?
I did not, but I did see the U-Wing and the Striker. I saw them both in person, like not in the package, actually out of it. Cool. One thing I was not aware of was that the Striker's wings moved. I had no idea. So FFG is kind of stepping up their game when it comes to like the actual ships themselves. And now maybe this was just the one, and I was afraid to touch it. I let the guy use it, but the little wings on the U-Wing, they weren't loose and like flopping around like you see with the Lambda shuttle. A lot of times, like they were actually pretty high tolerance. They stayed in place. So if you swung them out halfway, they would stay there. They wouldn't just kind of fall to one side or the other. Now that might have just been the one, and he got the one that was held in place with paint or something. But if that's indicative of how the rest of them are, then they've gotten a lot better on the moving parts as well.
Cool, very cool.
My Lambda shuttle is pretty stiff as well. I don't
know. And maybe it's how many times people played with the wings. But I know that ones I would see, they couldn't even keep them up in like the vertical position. They
oh no, mine would. Mine you can flip them up and they'll stay up, but they do flop around pretty easy overall. Yeah. I'm going to get probably those for Christmas. Sithmas. I have not. I won't be able to get to the games. I don't know about next week if I'll be able to play. I hope so, but Mrs. Captain, she might. She's actually an admiral. She might countermand those orders. But I do hope to get those for Christmas. But we can talk about some of the cards that have been that were not in the news articles that have come out in those. And actually, one of them includes the Winner of Worlds, Paul Heaver, his design card has been listed, and I might need some help to help decipher that because it's a little crazy. But the first one overall is one that is basically an option besides Push the Limit, which is really cool to have something other than Push the Limit. But Phil, you want to read it, or do you have it?
I don't have it right in front of me.
It's expertise is what the card is, and it's a 4-point EPT. And it reads, when attacking, if you are not stressed, you may change all of your eyeballs to hit results. Which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's
it's basically just a free focus. But I hate to say free for 4 points, but that's at least that's the way I'm reading it. Is for attacking purposes. It's basically a constant, always on focus.
But if you've got multiple attacks and stuff, it does it for every attack.
So you see this as an alternative to Push the Limit?
Yes, definitely. Because you don't need to do the other action to focus for or target lock, so you can just do your engine boost, to get out of the arc.
Yeah, in some cases, yes.
Not Soontir Fell, but
right, yeah. On any ship where you have a boost and a barrel roll, Push Limit, I think, is probably going to be better.
Right, but if you don't have boost and barrel roll, you've only got one, either barrel roll or boost, but you don't have both. This could be like, what about an A-wing?
This only works for changing focus to hits, right?
On the attack, yes.
Yeah, only on attacks. Yep.
Yeah, so that's the other part of it, is that it makes your, so an A-wing generally rolls 2 or 3 attack dice.
All right, so it's not that big. I see it as like a Falcon, like a Han Solo. The old Han Solo could use this, or like a Dash Rendar or something like that.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, the problem with trying to replace Push the Limit is that Push the Limit is just so damn useful, and flexible.
Yeah.
This doesn't stress you, does it?
Nope.
So that is a big plus over Push the Limit, but it's much more restrictive in terms of that extra pseudo action that it gives you.
Yeah, I can see Dengar using this.
Yeah. I was about to say that the kind of the exception here is something that's attacking multiple times in turn. So maybe, I don't know, possibly Corn Horn might like this.
Or Colonel Vessery with a Tide D.
Yep. Maybe Rexler Brath, the Tide Defender, who
spends his focus.
Likes to spend his focus to give to turn hits into face-up damage cards.
Oh yeah, Rexler Brath. I didn't think about that at all, but that'd be an excellent one. Yeah,
I mean,
a robot would be good with multiple attacks.
Yeah, but the robot might be nice too. But I think at the end of the day, Push the Limit is hard to dethrone. This is an alternative at times, I think.
Yeah, I don't think this is something that's going to replace Push the Limit. I think this is an option in some cases to not use Push the Limit, which I'm very happy with. I've seen FFG put out a number of they layer things where there's a number of things to take besides Push the Limit, or there's different options. There's not one, boom, this changes things, which they have sometimes been heavy-handed, but most of the time they come out with things that start to slowly, look at how many things are good against Sinterfell now. There's 101 things. Not one of them, not one thing is Black Market Slicer Tool is the thing that killed Sinterfell. No, but there's a lot of different options that have started to wear him down.
How do you think this stacks up against Predator? I think it stacks up pretty well.
Because
it's only 1 die generally. It's only seldom 2 dice that you can reroll with Predator, and this works on all your focus results.
Yeah, it's not even so much of a reroll; it's just all your focus results.
Yeah,
which is pretty good.
Statistically, target locks and focus tokens are about the same in terms of how many more hits they're going to give you at the end of the day.
Well, what's good though is you can actually use expertise with a target lock because it's not an action.
Yeah, exactly.
But Predator lets you reroll, but you can't reroll or reroll. But you could save your focuses for defense as well. I don't know, there's a number of things, but I think it's pretty interesting. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it makes me wonder, and obviously I'm not the expert here, how well this would sit with TLT ships.
Oh yeah,
because at least I know from my experience, I don't put Push the Limit on Hawks very often, and but this is something that can be used on both shots of a TLT.
Definitely,
without, in a sense, spending your focus. You could keep a focus there for defense if you needed it, or obviously do some other form of action with your ship if you needed a target lock or that sort of thing. And this would give them the option of being, always offensive with it, not having to worry about, do I save that focus for the second shot, and hope that, that one gets through, or now I don't have to worry about it. I can spend it on both of them. But I don't know if points wise, if it's worth it to add that many more points, because then you're looking at, 10 points to get TLT in that on one ship. So that's very expensive.
Do you know where I see this as the ultimate cool place to put this in a non-competitive setting? Expertise on Horton Psalm, the Y-Wing pilot. So he doesn't have an EPT, but they've got R2D6 for 1 point. They can give you an EPT, which would make it 5 points for expertise.
5-point EPT. Okay.
5-point EPT. But basically, Horton saw him when you're attacking at range 2 to 3, he can reroll all blanks. So you can load up Horton Saw with like torpedoes and TLTs. Make all his attacks at range 2 to 3. He rerolls all blanks, and all his eyeballs automatically turn to hits.
Yeah.
And just imagine him with torpedoes. I could just see him launching them all day long. And I think that would be the most hysterical and awesome use of expertise and Horton Psalm. Sure, utterly, horribly expensive.
Yeah,
but
certainly.
But so cool. And if there's one of those missions where you've got to just absolutely kill something, you know.
Well, I mean, it's technically only an 8-point EPT if you use it in HotAC. All right, so you could throw that onto your ship at whatever early level that you can get to it, and never have to worry about taking a focus for attacking again.
Yeah,
I mean, you can build your fancy Horton Psalm ship.
I love it. You know, just the man with the stash, Horton Psalm. So it just be so cool to go on him. I don't know.
Yeah.
Even with TLTs, even not the torpedoes. I like torpedoes because I'm an ordnance freak. But even just with Horton Psalm with TLTs and that, all his TLT shots are basically, you know, re-rolling the blanks and eyeballs are hits. That's pretty darn cool.
Yeah, he should be pretty accurate at that point.
Yeah.
I hope so, for as many points as you're going to be paying for all that.
Yeah. But he could take down those aces. Anyways, all right. Even those TIE Defender X7s with Palpatine would have a hard time. There was a rebel crew that was also released. Biston. That's how you say it, right?
Right. Well,
Biston.
Who knows?
Biston.
Who knows if we'll even find out in the movie? It's
unless it says how to pronounce it in the credits.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna go through everybody's names, especially this guy seems like a minor character. It's very likely that no one says his name in the movie.
Yeah, or watch him, of course, be like the guy who saves the day.
He's probably the Rocket Raccoon of this movie, for all we know. He's the one that everybody loves at the end of it.
Yep. As long as he's no Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I doubt it, but he might be a dark Sith, for all we know.
Do you happen to have the crew card in front of you? I do, if you don't.
Yeah, you go for it. I don't have the text.
All right. Bistan, 2 points, rebel-only crew. When attacking range 1 to 2, you may change one of your hits to a crit result.
Right. So this is, basically a better version of Mercenary Copilot. Just straight up. It's like same cost, and it works at range 2, as well as range 3. It's unique, I guess, if you care.
A range 1 or 2, not 3. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty straightforward ability. It's cool. I think it's probably thematic from what I can gather.
Yeah, I'm trying to think you've got to have a crew slot. So, there's some ships and
yeah, it's hard to say like where this is going to be awesome.
Right, because
I think the answer is that it's not going to be like awesome somewhere. I don't think
it's going to be neat.
Yeah.
You put the crits on some of these big ships, the crits start doing nasty stuff, or you put it in Epic. Oh, this guy in Epic's going to be he's going to be insane, Yeah,
he might be good on let's say a Corvette with with ordnance tubes. So it's making most of its attacks at range 2 to 3 anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Then he's just turning, 2 or 3 hits to crits every turn. That could be pretty good.
Yeah, even just like on a ship attacking another Epic, just you put them on a U-wing or something like that, and or an ARC 170 or somehow, and you start hitting those, getting through the shields and hitting those ships. Boom, you're gonna put a hurt on like the Raider or whatnot.
Yeah, it's a little odd for me at that whole range 1 to 2. I'm having trouble, I guess, seeing where I would use it in a list over other crew.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I don't think we'll see him much, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't think he's like a super competitive thing, but I think you know, if you've got some missions or something, it could be pretty. It's one of the things you put on, and someone's like, "What? Yeah. Okay," and then somebody like, "Oh, you know, dang it, that guy nailed me so hard. I got that one crucial crit at the that moment. Yeah. You won the game."
When he comes through, it's going to be good, and
yeah,
I suspect that it'll be cool to have this guy in your list too. Like you get at least 2 cool points.
Right.
That works. Yeah, that's probably exactly how it is in the movie. You're wondering the entire time, what is this guy here? Why do we bring him along? And then he gets that one lucky shot, and like, oh, okay, there we go. He got his 2 points out of him. Let's move on.
Yeah. All right, and so then the last guy, new crew. This is the Paul Heaver card, which is he's the winner of Worlds. Boshek, which makes me keep wanting to pull up some Beastie Boys. Boshek, Amishek, Karok. Anyways, Boshek. All right, so I'm going to read this, and I'm going to read it slowly because I think I get it now, but I had to think about it. So, when a ship you are touching activates, so it's its turn, you may look at its chosen maneuver. You can look at their dial. If you do, its owner must, it's in bold, rotate the dial to an adjacent maneuver. The ship can reveal and execute that maneuver even while stressed. So in other words, let's say they pick like a 4 straight. You look at their dial, you make it a 4K turn.
Yeah.
Even if they're stressed, they can do that red maneuver.
Yeah, so this, I think, might make a lot of people paranoid.
I like it. I actually like it. When I read it, I posted it. The Jim's like, I'm confused, and I think right before him I said, I like this. I actually like this card. I know it sounds crazy because it sounds complicated, but I actually like it. It's very mind job level card, which I think is
certainly, fun. A lot of psychological warfare going on here, and I was listening to Monarch Squadron the other day, and they were a little apprehensive that this might make people, completely overthink their dials now because they have to be careful. Yeah.
What's their adjacent dial?
Right. So
right. That's right. You got to think what's around the dial now.
You have to pick a maneuver that Boshek can't completely screw you on. So you have to you need to plan for 2 or 3 flight paths for maybe 2 or 3 dials a turn. That could make things a little
here was okay, so listen to this. I don't know if either of y'all read my comment on this when it was posted. Could you conceivably take a U-Wing and intelligence agent and this card so that you can look at their dial before deciding whether you want to look at their dial to make them change it? Does that make sense? Do you follow that line of reasoning? Because the intelligence agent lets you look before they reveal, and then Boshek is also before they reveal.
Makes sense. Yeah.
So you could conceivably say, you know what, let me see your dial with my intelligence guy and say, you know what, you tried to outthink me by planning a maneuver you weren't planning on using. Now I'll let you keep that maneuver. Sort of, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, I like the mind games of this because you could realistically build a cheap blocker, and that's what the U-Wing is at least one of the things they put out there.
Yes.
It's like a blocking ship. Hey, I can build this really low pilot skill, get in your way, block, and get to see your maneuver.
Right.
And if you just built it as this, I'm going to screw with your head ship. It's not going to do anything else except for get in the way and screw with your head. And it really could. We might have to put a turn timer into games so that you have to choose your dial. Like, you must choose dial in 2 minutes, or you don't get to move, or you're stuck doing a 2 straight or something stupid like that. Because you might end up with there's a term I've heard somebody say, and I can't think of it, but it's like option, like where you have too many options and you get
analysis
stuck.
paralysis.
That's it. Yeah, like that's where I could see this actually really messing with people, where they just get stuck in that loop of not being able to decide which of two maneuvers to do because what's right adjacent to them in one side or the other. So I really like this card. I don't know how well I'd be able to use it, but I really like it.
Well, there's also the idea that it can actually work for ships on your side that you are touching. So if you've got a ship that's really stressed out, but you want to do a red maneuver, you can bump into your own ship, look at its dial, and force it to do a different maneuver.
It does read that way, and it is a good way to think about it as, hey, I need to get this guy to do a K-turn, and he's already stressed. Like, hey, let me just ram him with my other ship.
Exactly.
I don't know. I don't know how often you'd use it, or I should say I might try and use it 2 or 3 times just to see what I could do with it. But I like it. I think it's an interesting card. I don't know how much you'll see it in actual play, but you never know. Someone could build some devious scheme around it.
If you've got like a bump master, you could do things with it. I think if you, because someone was commenting like, I don't understand. Is it a support ship or is it a combat ship? It's a bit of a lot of points, and it does got 3 attack. And I think it's actually kind of both. Because like support ships need to stay out of fight, but then combat ships get in the fight.
There's one thing that's kind of, at least for me, is of extreme note on this. It is not faction locked at all. So every faction has access to this, and that includes the crazy new.
No, not Boshek. Boshek is.
No, he's not. At least not on the card I've seen. The crew is not.
No.
The crew's not faction locked.
Yeah, I think he's the only unique crew that is not faction locked.
Oh my God, he's not.
Yeah, so it's like I could put him on a tugboat, for example, and move my tugboat all over the place. So I don't know if that was intentional or, let's be honest, they ran out of space on the card because there's no room on that card to say Rebel only. They had to cut too much out of it, or put a 0-point Boshek only upgrade card out there just so that they could explain further, all of his devious nature. But yeah, I noticed that I was sitting here looking. I was like, wait a minute, there's something missing from this card that I'm used to seeing on at least on most crew cards these days.
That, and the quad jumper can take a crew.
Yep.
And that's the crazy and insane thing that wants to get in people's faces and on. Oh,
yep, back up, tractor beam, all sorts of silly stuff that it can do. So there's no telling what you could do with that.
I didn't know. That's hysterical. Oh. Yeah. But even with the U-wing, I think it is a ship that can get up and be support, but it can also fire. It's got 3 attack dice. It's got 2 agility and a bunch of hits. It's like, you don't want it to get blasted to pieces, but if you're getting up and you're bumping and stuff, there's gonna be a round you're gonna get to fire at somebody at range 1. So
yeah, it's interesting options.
In fact, maybe that's a good thing with Biston. If you're going to be bump master and getting up in people's faces or trying to, maybe you want to turn that hit to a crit. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyways,
so out of curiosity, what set would he come in? Is he in one and I'm just not aware of it yet, or is it a to be determined? Oh, he's in the U-wing.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't look at the cards and I was just looking at the ship.
I think that's where he's in, right?
I don't know. The card I'm seeing looks very much like a computer-generated version and not an actual real one. So
no, it is a real card.
I think he's in the. He's in the quad jumper.
Oh, he's in the quad jumper. Oh. Do we even know who Boshek is?
Yeah, he's the dude in the cantina that Obi-Wan talks to first, and then. I guess they couldn't come to an agreement or whatever, and then he goes and talks to Chewie. He's got a whole backstory, typical EU stuff. He's force sensitive.
2 seconds of screen time.
Yep.
He gets his own card.
All right.
Come on, FFG. Dadgummit. We've had more time on this than that guy ever did. We need cards.
Okay, here's the contest. Who is on the screen more? This guy or the ship blister he comes in, the quad jumper?
Yeah.
I think Boshek might actually have been on the screen longer than the quad jumper.
Possibly. There were a couple more reveals. I don't know if you guys saw them. The Upsilon class shuttle style was revealed. Did you guys see that?
No. Well, I might have, but I don't remember paying too much attention to it.
Let me break it down real fast. So it's got a 0 stop. It has all of the speed 1, 2, 3 maneuvers. Turn, bank, and straight. Doesn't have any force speed. Doesn't have any koi grands or sloops or anything like that. The 1 and 3 turns are red. The 2 turn is white. Everything else is white except for the 1 and 2 straight and the 2 banks. So, dial is definitely better than a Lambda shuttle.
Yes, definitely.
Yep. That's kind of the question that people.
And this is Kylo. This is the Batarang, right? That's one.
Yeah, the bat ship.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think it's a pretty interesting dial. It's not super fast. I think it's about as fast as the Lambda class shuttle. But the turn options are really nice, and the white 2-turn is also really nice.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like a relatively, I hate to call it a standard dial, but it feels very standard except for those 1 sharps. That's obviously pretty limited in its spread. Even though there's stress, I guess they're red, but they're still relatively rare.
Yeah, 1 turns on a large base ship are not. I mean, they're really good, but they're not quite as They're a bit like kind of a 2-turn on a small ship. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're definitely covering a lot more territory. It's the one thing about large base ships that I have never gotten my head wrapped around is just how much kind of territory they take up as they move. It's the hardest part for me when I've flown them, and it's just a practice thing. I just have not flown them enough to kind of get that spatial relationship in my head. But everything is exaggerated, I guess, on the
right. Everything is faster.
The large base. So. That makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, I think this dial makes sense. I think that if they tried to make it as bad as the Lambda class shuttle, then I'm not sure we would see many of these, unless there's like a weird combo out there that we don't know about.
I don't know. Somebody posted one on the Facebook page not long ago that had it at like 7 or 8 dice as an attack. With all the new swarm leader.
Yeah, swarm leader on this thing. Yeah,
range 1 swarm leader.
That was Cuban boy. Yeah.
I read it just as I was sitting down. I was like, oh god, like I just saw the beginning of it. I was like, oh geez, of course there's a 7 or 8 die attack version of this thing. Just give it time.
I mean, so far we haven't seen any of those like big 7 or 8 dice lists break through to the and actually become powerful in the metagame and like dominant.
Right.
I feel like
they feel too.
One of these days they're gonna
Somebody's
make a
gonna figure it
mistake,
out.
and one of those is gonna be too easy to get to.
Well, they've. It feels like right now, whenever somebody puts some combo like this together, it's very obviously a one-trick pony. It's like, oh, this thing, don't get in really range 1 or 2, but stay out of its arc. And if you do whatever you can to stay out of the arc of a relatively slow ship, compared to general art dodgers and stuff, like
it's
it
not
does.
maneuverable.
Yeah,
I would say it's probably not slow per se.
Yeah, not slow so much. It's just not agile.
Yeah,
probably a better way of putting it, but. You're right. It's just a matter of time before they make that one mistake. It's. I mean, there was a big discussion I got into on one of the threads on the Facebook page, but I think it does boil down to Fantasy Flight's done a relatively good job, especially when compared to other long-standing game systems. With keeping things in that kind of.
Excuse me.
They're keeping
if you
things
want an
in
easy
a rough.
comparison, just go to Attack Wing. I mean, I hear that game is wildly unbalanced.
But they've done a relatively good job of it, and to me, it still feels like it's on a knife's edge at any given time. It's like one card could come out that's undercosted, and or one ship can come out that's undercosted, and suddenly the floodgates open. You're like, oh goodness, nothing can stop this until they come out with a full release of something to kind of fix it. It worries me, I guess, in that stage. So I haven't seen it yet, but the more cards you bring out, the more chance there is of somebody dredging up something that everybody's forgotten, including the developers, and throwing it on the table. And I mean, you never know. As funny as the thread was that I was in, it could be they put out some card and I was like, oh, this was garbage. And then, Paul shows up at Worlds with 3 B-Wings with whatever that card is and wipes everybody off the map. You're like, oh, geez, why didn't anybody see this? Because it was on a ship that none of us thought anybody would ever play again. So we never look at it.
I mean, I think that's essentially what happened with Dengaroo. It's a combination of cards that they didn't anticipate and didn't test for, as far as I can tell. And it just went right to the top of the power curve.
Which is crazy because, they're a power couple, in the extended universe, in the Legends. They are a couple. So,
what I think took that over the edge was Lone Wolf, actually, because I fooled around with lists that were very much like that used Mindlink instead of Manrune to pass Dengar focus tokens.
Yeah,
and have the overclocked Astromech having the focused chain reaction. But without the Lone Wolf reroll, it's really not quite as good.
They were actually talking about that on Hit Crit. They were saying that Lone Wolf for the defense in particular really just helps out.
It really puts, it adds a lot.
Yeah.
I even had countermeasures. I had virtually the top Dengaroo build in sort of like a Mindlink format, just without Lone Wolf.
I want to play more Dengar. I like Dengar. I was excited for him to come out. I played him a few times, and
he's not overpowered if you're not doing Dengaroo.
Yeah, I just want to try fun games with Dengar and just him flying around and getting shots and pain bot and
I did have one final spoil that I found through Nova Squadron's Facebook.
Okay.
And this is the final quad jumper pilot. This is Sarko Plank. He's a bug dude.
Oh.
I don't know if you've ever seen he's in some promotional images. I think he's in a short story or something that they released with The Force Awakens. He's a bug dude. And his...
Don't be speciesist. Insectoid is the preferred term. Anyways, go on.
You can't use bug dude. That's their word. Only they can use that.
That's right, dadgummit. Be careful. We don't want to get censored again.
Okay. So,
or a rash of Trump supporters.
His ability is when defending, instead of using your agility value, you may roll a number of defense dice equal to the speed of the maneuver you executed this round. And
wait, say that again?
Yeah, say that to me one more time.
You can instead of just rolling your defense dice normally, you can roll green dice equal to the speed of your maneuver for that round. So if you did a 3-speed maneuver, you get 3 defense dice. And I'm looking up the dial. I don't think they have a 4-speed maneuver. Quad jumper.
So that one wants to go fast because normally it goes pretty slow.
Yeah, I don't think it has a 4-speed maneuver. So, it's not. It's gonna have max 3 dice with this. So it's a fun ability, I guess. I don't know. I think it wants to go slow and harass people and go backwards and stuff like that. I don't know. I'm not sure if this is actually going to be a useful ability like so many others.
It's a strange card, I guess, for me. Is there a reason you would not want to roll your 2 agility die?
If you went speed 3.
No, that's what I'm saying. So what it's basically saying is you have 3 maneuvers that you can do to get this, to proc this ability, or this guy's ability that would make him useful. Yeah, you got
the other thing
straight and 2 banks.
if he has a tractor beam token on him, then he could just roll, the speed dice instead.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Or like wedge shooting at him, or
yeah.
Okay. So if there's something adjusting your agility, then I guess
things that screw with agility won't affect him as much, probably.
Hey, he can use expose.
How many points?
He could, I guess.
How many points were? Was that pilot skill, or how many points was he?
He's 18 points. He does have an elite pilot talent, so he can expose, guys. We finally cracked the expose code.
Aha,
right.
We have.
Not really.
18 points with expose, and you don't have to worry about losing any of your agility.
What was this guy's pilot skill?
5.
Okay, it's not amazing.
No. Yeah, he's a quad jumper. He might be fun. I guess if there was something that was handing out, like if we had like a tractor beam meta, where tractor beams just take over.
Oh, our brobot,
which is remotely possible. It's remotely possible that quad jumpers take over with a space tug tractor array. We just end up seeing like 5 or 6 of these things on a board.
That's right.
It's not impossible.
No, it's not. The ultimate slow roll. Just roll forward 1 or 2 and then stop or back up for 1, and this kind of very lockstep move.
I think if our list, our B team tonight, manages to win worlds,
Yeah, well, the next Worlds is coming right up. So
yeah, tournament season. You thought you were done.
Yeah,
there is no such thing as a tournament season. The tournament is all year round. There are 2 this weekend here locally, for crying out loud. They're not regionals, but they never stop. Tournaments never stop.
It's true. The competitive meta never really stops.
That's right. So you have to stay with it, or you'll just be left behind.
It's like a shark. If you
with
stop
the rest
swimming
of us
forward, you die.
That's right. That's right. You're either moving forward or you're falling behind. So you better stick with it, or just come with the rest of us and play Mario Kart because
or you're with the Shuttle Tydirium guys.
That's right. Or just come hang out with us over here in our cackling fun at the Mario Kart table, where it doesn't matter if you get blown up, you get respawned, and you can come right back on the table.
Ooh, you can get the bullet. Go 5 boost forward. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. All right. So I think tonight was a smorgasbord of various odd things. So some of these like this B team and the here's the Trade Cluster I've been sitting on for maybe about a month or a few weeks, because we just haven't had all our episodes have been kept jam packed with commentary, and and J Bart's his battery light starts beeping. We don't have enough time to cover it.
We used to have too much quality content.
Well, that's right. Well, see, I was telling somebody at work this week, because they're like, how are you doing on Fridays? Because I normally try and take Fridays off or take half days, but can't here in the Christmas season. And they said, how are you doing with the podcast? I said, well, when we first sat down and tried to design the podcast, we're like, we could probably do 1 show every 3 or 4 weeks, when we get some content. And I said, no, we must do 1 a week. We must get 1 an hour. And I'm like, I wish we could go back and time. And I could tell myself, no, once a month will be fine, guys. And you're like, I don't know if we'll have enough content. And now we're like hour and a half every week, or hour and 20 minutes every week.
Very rarely under an hour and a half.
We aim for an hour every week, guys. Just so y'all know, we aim for an hour every week.
I've given up.
I still hold out hope. I still have hope. So, but yeah. So in a sense, I kind of blame myself for the long hours.
It is all you.
Yeah, it's all my fault. What can I do? I love this game. Apparently,
it cuts into my gaming time. That's for sure. Because I used to be able to stay till like 11 o'clock playing games. Now I've got to cut out by 9 o'clock to get home to get podcasting.
So you need to work that out so that you have a podcast free night, and then you have a night for actual gaming. That way you have the 2. No, honey, this isn't gaming related. This is podcast related.
Yes,
2 totally separate things.
Completely different thing.
Yeah, I think the
Talking
solution
about
is to make that happen is just to go ahead and piss my wife off and have her divorce me and take the kids.
That-
I don't
that'd
be
work.
lonely, have no life at all.
It'd
I
have
just think I could
plenty
put
of time.
podcast on my resume.
Yeah, you have plenty of time
Random
to work on that
podcasts.
space station and every other little project that we need you to finish up on.
True.
So-
Though I did see, you can put, if you play like a role playing game like D&D, you can put it on your resume, weekly problem solving session with peers.
Weekly project manager. Yeah.
Oh, like weekly problem solving sessions, role playing problem solving
I
sessions.
am pretty good at writing resumes. Maybe I should add a segment to the show of J-Bot's resume writing. How to turn your gaming life into money.
Dude, yeah.
Into a better, more powerful position by J-Bot.
It only costs $1 per week to get the J-Bot tips.
Right, J-Bot University.
Put it 1-900-555 J-Bot.
That would be funny if we had like a Patreon or something, and you could unlock progressively more J-Bot tips.
You've reached level 9, Cloud City level of J-Bot Patriarch.
That's when you start getting the real good secrets.
You get a personal phone call from J-Bot every week.
That's right. Oh, it takes me back to the days of the Nintendo Power magazine and having a buddy call into the 1-900 number to get a tip on how to get past like a random boss in a video game. Like, how did we survive before the internet? I could just Google up how to get past that guy, and there's 5,000 kids making more money than I do with YouTube channels that show me how to do all this stuff. I think that's we've let ourselves go, people. Somehow we've let ourselves go.
And here we are.
When a kid can open boxes of Legos and make $1 million a year, what happened to me? I could have been that kid. I could still be that kid.
What about us? We could just move to YouTube and start having commercials and make money. But no, we got to do free podcasts where you make
Nobody wants
money.
to see it. Nobody wants to see us.
Oh, yeah, we have to pay to put the podcast. We got annual fees. We got to buy the software.
I have a face that was made for radio. Is tell people at work. I was like, I'm helping the community. In fact, they should pay me to not put a YouTube channel out. I think that's all. All right, I think we've diverged off of our.
All right.
Run out of material.
That's right. Yeah.
All right. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Life Day. Take care, guys. We'll see about when next time we can record. If we can't, because we're at the holidays, J-Bot might be sneaking around with the recording equipment. So,
do you guys think we'll probably talk a lot about Rogue One next episode, right? I think everyone's going to see
spoilers. We're going to just ruin it. No, we'll try not to. Well, at least if we do, we'll announce
put
it.
Up, spoiler alerts and whatnot.
Spoiler alert!
You just call it episode whatever. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Unless I haven't seen it. If I haven't seen it, we're not talking about it. That's the only rule here. Is that I haven't seen it. We're not.
We all have to see it. I totally get that.
Yeah, sure.
Yep.
All right.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot, guys. We'll talk to you next week. Maybe. We'll talk to you soon. Happy holidays.
Day of harmony, a day of joy we all can share together. Joy.